Hello, boys and girls, and welcome back to another episode of Nerd Out Sanctuary. I'm your host, Michael. Yes, I'm wearing a headband because I tried to previously record this episode, and it got really fucking hot in my room. And I'm also combined that with I'm drinking whiskey this episode, and I just started I'm normally sweating because there was no air circulation, and I was just like, I can't do this. So yeah, my hair got all fucked up, and wearing a headband to mask my fucked up hair because I'm self-conscious about it. All right, leave me alone. Leave me alone. All right, Jesus. But anyway, we got a pretty packed episode for you guys today. We're talking a Netflix original show, revisiting it. And we're talking two films, reviewing two films, and I'm going to go down another 5 of my top 100. So hopefully this is an incredibly long episode, but I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, because, fuck it. I decided to do it. And I'm recording on a Thursday during the day, actually. It's actually 2:30, and I'm drinking whiskey. I don't know what that says about me, but, hey, whatever. I mean, I'm your host, Michael, from Nerd Out Sanctuary. This is episode 18, and yeah. So, yeah, how are you guys doing? Are you guys doing okay? I hope you guys are doing okay. I hope you guys are doing well during a time like this. Shit's still kind of real. Still don't really know when I'm going back to work. Still haven't heard anything. I have a feeling I might hear something tomorrow basically telling me, hey, you're starting on Monday or starting on Saturday. So, I don't know. I feel like I'm just going to literally find out the night of. I'll be going back to work, so I don't know. We'll see. I don't know when I'm going back. I don't know when our project's starting up. But, hey, till then, I'll be here. It would just be nice to have a week notice, so I'd maybe put another episode out and let you guys know, hey, episodes are going to be a little bit more sporadic. But, I'll let you guys know eventually. But, yeah, so let's just get right into it. Let's just get right into the goddamn episode. Shut up, Mike, and get to the actual content, please. Just get to the actual content. Jesus. Okay, relax. I will. So, we're talking Netflix original series, Afterlife Season 2. I reviewed the first season on this podcast, but it's not on YouTube. It's one of those episodes that was kind of in that grace period of me trying to figure out what I was doing with my camera. So, I didn't have a camera at that time, but I recorded it. It's on those audio podcast platforms, Spotify, iTunes, and Google Play. So I'm going to be talking a little bit similar things for all you YouTube guys and people who are newer to the channel. But if you're unfamiliar with Afterlife, it's a Netflix original, first off, and it's created and stars Ricky Gervais. And if you're unfamiliar with Ricky Gervais, he's the mastermind behind The Office, the English and the American Office. He also is he's that big guy who was doing the Golden Globes, hosting the Golden Globes, and has those famous monologues where he just savagely roasts everyone. So yeah, he's great. I'm a huge fan. I think he's an incredibly talented comedian. He's so funny. And here in Afterlife, he plays a guy named Tony who recently lost his wife to cancer, and they had a really great relationship, and he, watches videos of his wife and a video recording that his wife made for him to help him deal with the life without her. And so it's him dealing with depression because when you're getting introduced to Tony, he's very depressed and wants to kill himself. And the whole narrative behind the first season is he's just going to be shitty to everyone because if that doesn't work, he can always just fall back on killing himself. And it's him learning how that's kind of a shitty thing to do. And the first season I thought was amazing and very emotionally resonant to me because, one, it's hilarious. I've never laughed so hard in a while, especially the season 1 and in season 2 as well. But also just it has so many great representations or descriptions of what grief is and what dealing with depression actually is. It's described. He describes in season 2 that like grief, he's addicted to grief. Like it's almost like a drug, and that is incredibly true. I remember when I first was dealing with this when I was like in high school. It was pretty constantly with you, like constantly reminded day in and day out, pretty much every minute of every second of every day. And, that whole, being down, like, it's kind of hard to get out of. So, I thought that was really great. And it, like, takes you over all like, real suddenly. Like, you can just be doing something and something makes you think of that, that dark place. So cliche, but, like, it's true. And you're instantly down, instantly just fucks your entire day up. But, so that's really great here. And it's also Brent pointed out that like all the good memories that you even have of the person that you lost are even tainted by this grief because they're not here anymore. You remember those good times and then you're reminded that those good times are never going to happen again, and you're never going to be able to revisit them ever again because they're not here anymore. And it fucking sucks. And it's like, and people always say like, oh, just get over it, like depression's why, like what, depression's just a state of mind, you can just get over it. And like, no, it's not. It's a thing that you constantly have to deal with, and the only cure for it is pretty much time. I mean, yeah, you can take antidepressants to like kind of suppress it a little bit, but I mean, like, you just over time learn how to deal with it and how to let it not affect your daily life and affect the ones around you, especially the ones you love. I mean, this show really brings all that forward, and it does it incredibly well. And it almost like when I was watching it, it was just so I was just so reminded of me, because. Sorry, I thought I heard some noise in my apartment, and that's pretty weird. Okay, well, we're going to keep going, and if someone comes in through that door and murders me, well, I got it on tape. Well, he's going to erase it. It's not like this is going to be uploaded. What is happening with me? What is happening with this podcast? I'm going a little stir-crazy, maybe. I don't know. I need to get out of the apartment, probably. It's been a while, but let me get some more whiskey, put some more alcohol in my system at 2:45 in the morning in the afternoon. But so I was watching the Afterlife, and I'm just reminded of me and how I used humor to like make others laugh and make myself laugh, just kind of suppress the pain of that loss and the depression that I was feeling at the time. And it's still there. It's just time has passed, and I've learned how to let it not affect my daily life. And sometimes you just kind of have to go through it and just kind of let it out every once in a while, but hopefully, privately where no one's, watching. That's one thing that I think a horror film called The Babadook is so brilliant. I personally believe it's a modern horror classic, and spoiler alert, it might be in my top 100. But, a lot of people think that's just like a run-of-the-mill monster possession film, and it's not. It's so much more than that. The Babadook is a metaphor for grief and depression. What is that? Never mind. It doesn't matter. I think maybe that's just me. But I'm talking about a horror film, and then there's fucking noises come from my apartment. Oh my god. What is that? Okay, maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm just whatever. Move on, Mike. Stay on target. But so the Babadook, like, the actual Babadook itself is a metaphor for depression and grief, Whether it's in a look or in a nook, you can't get rid of the Babadook. Yeah, that's right. You can't. And, especially at the end of the film, it does a really great job where, like, a little bit of a spoilers, it's still around, but the main character learns how to nurture it and, like, keep it around, but not let it affect and seal it away and not let it affect her life and the ones that she loves' life. And then watch The Babadook if you haven't. It's fucking phenomenal. Even if you don't like horror movies, still watch it. But anyway, getting back to Afterlife, yeah, it's overall it's amazing, and it's really short too. It's 6 episodes, 30 minutes an episode. My only criticism of it would be probably that like season 2 doesn't really do anything new that the first season doesn't do. it can get a little, like, I guess, repetitive if, for some, not for me, really, because I thought it's still really funny and it's still very emotionally resonant to me. But I mean, if they do the same thing again with the third season, okay, I can see some criticisms becoming a little bit more prominent if they, continue with the formula and not really do anything new. But I have confidence that Ricky Gervais will think of something. But yeah, and then it's also just a great show to like let you know, like don't let the cunts get you down. That's exact line is like, said in the show. Like, don't let assholes, people being inconsiderate and, assholes, get you down because they don't know any better. Sometimes, a lot of people say things that they don't really necessarily, think about how it might come across to others, and, be a little bit more considerate than that. But also, if, something's said to you, just realize that, like, the person's being an asshole, inconsiderate or a cunt, and you just move on with your life, and who cares? Who cares what other people say or think? And that's kind of, another good thing about the show. This show has a lot of amazing themes and a lot of really good, lessons to take out of and like kind of implement into your life, especially if you're going through a hard time, which, I've had multiple times in my life. And it's a great show. And I think you guys should watch it. I don't think a lot of people are watching it, but I think you should. But yeah. So moving on. That was Afterlife. Moving on to our first film that we're going to be talking about. I'm talking about Portrait of a Lady on Fire. That's right. Yes. This film I put in my top 10 of 2019 discussion because I didn't see it at the time. And I thought maybe it could have cheated its way in there because I heard a lot about this film. I heard nothing but good things. I'm looking at Rotten Tomatoes now, and has a 98% tomato meter, and it actually has a 92% audience score, which is pretty good. For a film like this, I'm not surprised, because we'll get into it a little bit. But if you're unfamiliar with Portrait of a Lady on Fire, it's a French foreign film, so it's all foreign language. So yeah, you're gonna have to read subtitles again. But good news, there's really not an incredible amount of subtitles. There's not an incredible amount of dialogue. A lot of the film is told through facial expressions and just the way it's directed, and I'm gonna be getting into that. But the woman who directed this is Celine Sciamma. I'm sorry if I'm butchering her name. I mean, I'm guessing she's French, but yeah, if you're unfamiliar with the story of A Portrait of a Lady on Fire, a woman is contracted or commissioned to paint a portrait of this woman who is engaged to be married to some random dude in Italy, and the woman who she's trying to paint a portrait of is very hesitant about the marriage, and she's very reluctant to be, married to some dude that she hasn't met before, rightfully so. So the woman who's commissioned to paint the portrait is to show up just to be like under the guise of being a companion towards the said woman who is being a portrait, and the relationship develops, and it's very interesting. And that's kind of where it might not sound interesting, but let me tell you, it definitely is. The film is really I would say it was definitely in contention for my top 10 of 2019, but I probably wouldn't put it in there. It wouldn't be one of my favorites of 2019, but man, it would probably even be at the top of the fringe movies that I outlined in that video. But let's just get into, what I thought of the film right off the bat. The imagery and the shots and the image quality of the film was mind-blowing. Really good. Like, really good. I'm talking probably some of the best of the year. And then also piggybacking off of that, the acting in the film is whoa. Like I said, the plot may sound like it might bore you, and it is a really slow burn. Like, it's a slow film, but that doesn't mean it's boring or bad. I mean, some of my favorite films are slow. Blade Runner, for instance, is a slow film. It kind of makes it not as accessible as some other films. But this film, yes, it is slow, but throughout the entire runtime, I was completely engaged. I was completely interested to see where this was going to go, and I was very invested in the two main characters, and their relationship and how it's going to develop and how it was going to end up at the very end. But yeah, so the two actresses, I have to just say, Naomi Merlant and Adelaide Hanel. I'm terrible at pronouncing names, plus they're French, so it's just not going to work. But they're both phenomenal. Like, a lot of people, kind of praise the whole Oscar Beatty performance where, they give this very emotional, long, drawn-out monologue to another character, and that's like, oh, that's the performance, that's the scene where it's going to be plastered everywhere for their Oscar campaign. This acting that they do here is way more impressive. This acting here is not really done with dialogue, but with facial expressions, and they're using their eyes. And also, having an amazing director also helps. But like, this acting is what is really impressive. It's the main reason why Ryan Gosling is one of my favorite actors, because he is very proficient at acting using his face without saying anything. And if you want, an example of that, watch Blade Runner 2049, watch Drive, both phenomenal films. Some of my most favorites of all time. They're pretty high on the list. But yeah, and he's phenomenal in them, mainly because he uses his facial expressions and his eyes very meticulously and calculated, filmmaking wise. And it's the same here, and it makes the film so engaging and so interesting. Along with the different types of shots that the director, chooses. There's one amazing shot where it just shows the like a profile of both of like our main character, like, looking at, the other main character who she's trying to paint a portrait of, and then as soon as she looks back, and it was just a really cool shot that I really liked and I really appreciated. But I mean, again, and I guess a criticism of it was, a criticism is not because it's slow, it's just because it's a plot that, it doesn't like really emotionally resonate with me, even though I really enjoyed it. But like, I don't really see myself revisiting this one as much as I would the other 10 films on my top 19 list. So it kind of reminds me a type of film like Moonlight in that way. Like, I remember watching Moonlight, and I'm like, the directing here is phenomenal. The shot selection is great. The acting is also mind-blowing. Very similar, using facial expressions, using your eyes, like really telling the story rather than like, telling the audience the story. And I just thought, like, and it won Best Picture, so it wasn't underrated like this one was. But, again, like, I thought, the other film that mistakenly won Best Picture, La La Land, I thought was a more enjoyable film, and I would see myself revisiting that one a lot more than Moonlight. But it's kind of similar here, but that doesn't mean I didn't love the film. I thought Moonlight was a really good film. I mean, I think this one actually might be a little bit better than Moonlight and a little bit more enjoyable. But, like, so I wouldn't say it quite fit into my top 10 list, but it's still great. Does it have the movie magic, though? Does it have Mikey's movie magic, though? Yeah, absolutely it does. It absolutely does. The characters, the story, the plot, the direction really keeps you engaged throughout the entire runtime. I even forgot like how long it was. It's like it's 2 hours. It doesn't feel like 2 hours. It feels pretty short, actually. And again, another thing is like small details. They call back to small details, which is really cool. It shows very good writing as well, and it's written by the same person who directed the film. So, like, bravo to Celine, who directed this one. She did a fantastic job, and this is a really great film. And if anything that I said interests you, like this, if the plot interests you, definitely check this one out. If you're a fan of film, check this one out. It's pretty much, you shouldn't miss it. And I think a lot of people would, I understand other people loving this one a lot more than I do. Like, it's similar to Moonlight. I see this film as being incredibly emotionally resonant to a lot of people, and especially to a lot of people who are fans of films. It's just, I wish it would have resonated more with me, but I'm not going to say it's not good. I'm not going to say this is not a fantastic film, because it is. And it's the same with A Portrait of a Lady on Fire. It's phenomenal. So, and it doesn't waste any time as well. So, yeah, watch it. I watched it on Hulu. It's available on Hulu. I don't know if it's available on any other platforms, but if you have Hulu, definitely check this one out. So, moving on to my next film. I'm kind of like licking my lips a little bit here. I'm going to actually take a drink of water a little bit here. That was a weird way to drink my water bottle, but whatever. I'm going into my next film. I watched Legend on Netflix. It's available on Netflix. And if you're unfamiliar with Legend, it came out in 2015, and it stars Tom Hardy, and he plays identical twins who are gangsters in East London back in the 60s. He plays Ronald and Reginald Cray. And they pretty much took over the whole gang scene in at least East London. So that's kind of what the film is about. Really the only person of note that I really kind of want to mention is Tom Hardy. It's directed by a guy named Brian Helgeland. I was looking at his filmography, and he's actually done some pretty good stuff. Say what you will about A Knight's Tale. I kind of really liked A Knight's Tale. He wrote L.A. Confidential. He wrote and directed 42, that baseball movie about Jackie Robinson. So he's not like a poor director or anything. But I remember when this film was coming out, and I was really anticipating this one. Because I love Tom Hardy. I'm a huge Tom Hardy fan. Plus, the trailer was sick. The trailer was awesome, and I was really excited to see it. And then it came out, and a lot of people didn't really have too many good things to say about it. So I decided to just skip it in the theater and just wait for it to come out, rent it or whatever, and saw it on Netflix. I was like, oh, okay, you know what? This is only going to cost me time. So let me just check it out. Who knows? I might actually, I don't like, my expectations are kind of low, and let's just see, what happens and see what I think about it. And, so I watched it, and, it's not good. It's kind of rare where my expectations are low, and it actually it met my expectations. I will say that. It met them, but it didn't really exceed them. I didn't hear good things about the film, and I don't really have too much good to say about it. I mean, drink my whiskey for this shit. But come on. I don't really understand how you really fucked this up. I mean, it's Tom Hardy, and he plays two characters in your film. I will say right now, he's the only good part about this film. He does bring, and he tries his best to carry this one, but it's just ultimately fails because of just the storytelling and the other characters surrounding him, and just the direction is just ugh. Let's just get into it. I mean, because it's not the worst film ever, but it ain't great. Let's just talk about why I don't really think it's very good. Right off the bat, the film jumps right in, and it moves. Sometimes it's a good thing to like jump right into the action and get really going real quickly and be a fast-paced film. But I think it really, really hinders this one. Instead of having a quick moving story, it just kind of feels like a compilation of scenes, and they just like put it together without any sort of narrative, connecting it, and like a constant through line running through the story. Also the characters don't evolve. We'll get into that a little bit. But like I said, it's just kind of just like a compilation of scenes, and like there's really no other constant through line other than some random stupid cliche love story between our main character Frances. First of all, why the fuck is she our main character here? The story is narrated by her and it's told through the perspective of her. Why is she why is she the main character? Our main character should be Reggie and Ronald Cray, you know. But yeah, I mean, the actress who plays Frances, she starred in that Sucker Punch film back in the day. That was a long time ago. But yeah, like, I don't want to shit on her a lot because it's really not all her fault. But like, man, her character was just boring. Like, what? Like, doesn't evolve over time really. Their love story was not anything interesting, and honestly pretty fucking boring. Like I found myself multiple times being like, okay, when is this over? And I don't really do that too much because I like to say that I have a pretty good taste in, you know, movies and television and other entertainment media. And so I don't really watch anything bad often. You know, I pick and choose because my time's valuable, and I don't really want this channel to be all negative. And I'm going to describe ways that this film could be better. But so I don't really watch bad stuff very often, so but I watched this one, so, you know, I decided to talk about it because it wasn't too great. But also, like I said, characters don't evolve in interesting ways, at least, and also interesting, like, other characters just drop in and out of the story, like, and they just kind of disappear for no reason. Like, Paul Bettany is in this one for like a couple of scenes. If you don't know who Paul Bettany is, he plays Vision in the Avengers movies, the Marvel movies. He plays Vision, the android. A great actor, and he was pretty good in this one, but he's only in it for like 2 to 3 scenes, and they're brief, like small scenes. Like there's a small conflict that the Krays have with this other gang, and they set him up as like the torture gang, and it's like, oh, okay, this is kind of interesting. Let's see what they do with this, and they do fucking nothing with it. They do nothing. I'm like, what the and then they decided to shift gears to this Frances love story. And it's like, why? Like, it doesn't make sense why she is narrating the story. Like, it's such a poor choice. You know, Reggie and Ronald should have been narrating the story. And an interesting thing you could have done was having 2 different perspectives of what was happening in the film. Like, oh, maybe do a scene twice, but one from Reggie's perspective and how he tells it, and then one from Ronald's perspective and how he tells it, because they're very different in personality, even though they look pretty similar. But, so, yeah, the film just kind of, it seems a lot like there was a little too many cooks in this kitchen. You know, there's no consistent vision. It's a very kind of surface level type of film. Like, I'm sure you can enjoy this film if you're just kind of looking for something to turn on and watch. But if you're looking for something like anything of value, like it really wants to be, it does seem like it's trying to be Goodfellas, but you're not. Like, you know, with the whole narration and the like retelling of a semi-true story of like iconic gangsters. The difference between The Legend and Goodfellas is Goodfellas has interesting characters and they evolve throughout the film. You know, Joe Pesci becomes more and more unhinged as the film goes on until he gets offed. You know, Robert De Niro gets more and more paranoid because you know, of the whole, you know, Biggest Heist and all, and he starts offing people because he's paranoid. And Ray Liotta keeps, like, you know, gets more and more unsure of you know, the life as the time goes on until he, you know, actually becomes a rat, you know. Like, in here, no characters end, or they end pretty much the same way that they started. And it's just like, this isn't interesting. And having this whole quick, moving film that just is pretty much just a compilation of scenes, it doesn't have this cohesive through line that can guide our characters, and our characters can grow throughout it. And it could have been cool, but like it just wasn't. So yeah, it was overall pretty disappointing. And I'm gonna try to like give like some pointers, or not pointers because it's not like, the filmmakers are going to be watching this, but like how the film can be better. Like, I don't want to just criticize a film and say how it's not, it's just shit and that's it. Because I don't think that's very valuable, and I don't want this, negative content to be on my channel. My channel is strictly focused to be more positive and give you positive recommendations. But for every, thing that I watch and that I want to talk about, I do kind of want to give some feedback on how it can be better. Like I said, don't have the worst character in your movie be our main character and told in the perspective of that character. Frances is a shit character. She's boring, and there's nothing interesting about her other than being in love with Reggie, our should be main character. But yeah, so get rid of the whole narration thing. You're not Goodfellas. Relax. If you're gonna go with a narration, let Reggie and Ronald narrate your film. But yeah, so the Krays should be the main focus. Tom Hardy should be in every fucking scene of this film because he's the best part. He clearly gives the best performance, and he's clearly carrying the film, or at least trying to. So have him be in every fucking scene because he's really the only good thing about the film. Focus on the wars with the gangs and also maybe conflicts with the fucking American mafia. They tease these, but they don't really do anything with them at all. Even the mafia even discusses one brother turning on the other one, and they don't really do anything else with this, really. I mean, if they do, I forgot. And I watched it 2 nights ago. Like, it's very, your film is very forgettable. And also, just get rid of the whole cliched romance. Like, I get it, there was one in Goodfellas, but like, it's the same thing. We've seen this before. Can we do something else a little bit? Maybe make the film not so like historical based. Just tell a story. Don't retell a story. Just tell a story. Don't like, back in the day, this was like this, and this person was like this. Just give me the story. Just tell it. You don't need to narrate shit that I can see on screen, So there's that. That also deals with the whole narration story, and just have a clear vision, a clear goal. Have a goal that what your characters want to be. Like, who do your characters like? Know what your characters are in the start of your film, and have them be different by the end of the film. That shows a character arc. That's character evolution. That's what makes stories interesting. That's what makes characters very investing for people, because people grow and people change over time. So when they see that not happen in your film, they just check out and like, what is even the point of me watching this at this point? There's a couple. The only good scenes are when the Krays are fighting and there's violence, basically, and that's pretty much it. Like, those are the good scenes, and then scenes that Tom Hardy's in are also at least decent, but like, still, like, the characters surrounding the Krays are all boring, and they add nothing to the story. So yeah, maybe having another antagonist, like another gang leader, I don't know, like Paul Bettany that you had, but you got rid of him after like 2 scenes. I don't know, it just seemed like time was really moving fast, and you just kind of lost track of it at a point. So yeah, have a reason why, like, tell me why you're making this film, other than like, oh, this is an interesting point of time, guys. So yeah, that's how I think the film could be better. But does the film have a movie magic, though? What do you guys think? Probably no, it doesn't. It's pretty clear that it doesn't have the movie magic. I'm actually looking at the Rotten Tomatoes scores. It's actually higher than I thought It has a 61% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is a sort of fresh rating. Audience score is a little lower, though, which I'm really surprised about. But, the only way I would recommend this film is if you're a huge Tom Hardy fan. I'll check it out. I'm sure this is a very easily digestible film for people. It's a pretty easy film to just turn on the background. But if you're looking to get invested in a story, this is definitely not it. So yeah, that's Legend. Watch it. Don't. It's on Netflix. So come on, man. I can't even turn a page. Jesus. All right. So the final thing we're going over today on this episode. Where are we on time here? I want to see where we are. Oh, we're actually pretty good. Okay. So I might take a little bit longer here. This has gone pretty quickly, which is not a bad thing. I was kind of afraid this was going to be an hour and a half episode, to be honest. But hey, we're making great time. So let's get on my next 5 of my top 100 films, my favorite films. So a little disclaimer before I go down a little bit farther on the list here is that all these movies that I say that are in my top 100 have the movie magic. They all have it. They're all great. They're all amazing. I don't need to continually say that every time. And I'm not going to do an in-depth review of each one of these. I'm going to talk about some unique things that I really love about them, what makes them special, whether they're going to rise and fall in my top 100. Because it's possible. I mean, I would say once we get to maybe around 50, it's kind of set in stone a little bit. But also, this is just my opinion. It's not objective fact that these are the 100 best films of all time. This is my personal list. And, if over time you think one should be in this list, maybe comment down below. I will respond to you. I would love to have a discussion about these and whether or not you like these films or not as well, and whether you think they deserve to be in a top 100 list as well. So, yeah, without further ado, let's just get into it here. Number 75, we have the first Avengers film, Marvel's Avengers, back in, came out, 2012? Thinking about, it was one of my favorite movie experiences I've ever had. It's definitely one of my most memorable, because it's just seeing all these superheroes assembled in one film is just unthinkable. It was unthinkable at the time. A lot of people didn't really expect this was actually even going to happen, and somehow they pulled it off, and they pulled it off incredibly well. I mean, look how much these movies are making now. Look how much Endgame made. Endgame is also spectacular, and maybe, I don't know, it might not make it into my top 100 just because of the comic book fatigue and everything. Maybe over time it'll grow on me a lot more, because Endgame is great, and it was in my top 10 of 2019. But the first Avengers film was just very special to me because it's very memorable. It's one of my favorite experiences of all, film experiences of all time, movie-going experiences of all time, I should say. But does it have the potential to rise and fall? Maybe. I think it's definitely going to stay in my top 100, but at 75, it might fall a little bit depending on the films that I watch over time. Because I don't know. I mean, I might like Endgame and Infinity War a little bit more than Avengers, even though I'll rewatch Avengers more because just almost nostalgia at this point. I mean, it's it was 8 years ago? Fuck, dude. Jesus. Oh my God, I'm getting old. And I'm 24? Fuck. Anyway, so number 74, we're going, The Departed. The Departed. And it's right. The one that's starring, Leonardo DiCaprio, Matt Damon, fucking, what's his face? Jack Nicholson. Jesus Christ. And Mark Wahlberg. Martin Sheen's in this as well. So amazing performances. Directed by Martin Scorsese, right? Yep. It's actually probably one of the best remakes of all time. I'm pretty sure this was a remake of a foreign film of similar name. But probably one of the best maybe crime dramas ever made. I mean, Scorsese. This is like Scorsese's wheelhouse almost. These crime dramas, such as, The Departed, Goodfellas, The Casino, even Taxi Driver, really. This one is amazing. I loved when I first, another very memorable film for me when I first watched it. I didn't catch this one in the theater because I think I was too young at the time. But I remember watching it on DVD at home, and I was like, whoa, this was incredibly good. And also very unexpected, incredibly unexpected ending. One of the most memorable endings I've ever seen. And very poetic as well, especially with the symbolism at the very last shot of the film. But yeah. It's definitely, yeah, and I think it's considered one of the best remakes ever of all time. So yeah, does it have a chance to rise and fall? I don't know. I think it's pretty good where it stands because I do love The Departed. And I think it's obviously deserved to be in the list. So I don't know, it maybe has a chance to fall. Maybe I think a lot of these films have a chance to fall, but maybe not my next three. But we'll see. So. Going to 73, though. Giving on to 73, I have a pretty recently released film, I believe, 2016. Okay, so not incredibly recent, 4 years ago, but I'm talking Swiss Army Man. And this is probably one of the most unique films on my entire list. Possibly one of the most original ideas I've seen in a film. It's about, if you're unfamiliar with Swiss Army Man, which probably a lot of people are, other than these other, 5 on this list, on this shortened list. Swiss Army Man's about a guy who's stranded on an island and is about to kill himself, and then he sees a body wash up on shore. And, the main character is Paul Dano, but the body that he discovers is Daniel Radcliffe, and he's actually dead body, but he actually uses his dead body to actually get him off the island. Like, his farts propel him, like, across water, which is hilarious. He can, like, shoot things out of his mouth. His mouth, like, just propels water so that he can drink. He's, like, Swiss Army knife, but as a man. He's incredibly useful, and he's, used for Paul Dano to survive. And I think it's one of the most moving films I've seen in recent times, and it's also very personal to me and very relatable to me. So, yeah, it's an incredible film. It's also hilarious, and it made me get really emotional, especially at the end, and it's also a film to just have this great theme of just, not giving a shit what other people think of you. Obviously, yeah, that can be very important, but, just boiling down these simple ideas, it's like, because Daniel Radcliffe's character is very innocent and he doesn't know anything about the world, so Paul Dano has to, tell him about him. So he's just like, oh, why don't you fart in front of people? Like, why can't you not fart in front of people? And it's just like, well, yeah, like, why? I mean, like, it's not particularly harming others, but I mean, it's stuff like that just like puts a lot of, these social norms into perspective, and just kind of, not judging people just because of what they look like, and, just trying to be yourself and don't change for anyone else, and, not really care what others think of you. And I thought it's a very moving film, along with it just being incredibly original, very fun, and incredibly funny, and, touching as well. So, yeah, number 73, Swiss Army Man. If you haven't seen it, check it out. I'm pretty sure it's available on Amazon Prime or something. I'm almost positive. But anyway. So, number 72. We have a fun one for you on 72. This is just my personal favorite. We have Point Break. If you're unfamiliar with Point Break, it stars Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze in his prime. Patrick Swayze in his prime. Gary Busey's also in it as well. But it's about an FBI agent played by Keanu Reeves who tries to infiltrate a team of like bank robbers who are also surfers. Directed by Kathryn Bigelow as well, which is she did what? Pretty sure she did Zero Dark 30 and Hurt Locker as well, which is very interesting. But this one is definitely her best one, I will argue. I am an FBI agent. If you haven't seen the film, that doesn't make any sense to you. But if you have seen the film, I mean, Keanu Reeves in his prime, Swayze in his prime. I mean, it's just hilarious. It's just a great film. It's a fun film, and There's actually there's a good bank robbing scenes as well. The ex presidents, that's their, that's them. Their mantra, I guess, when they're robbing a bank, they just dress up as ex presidents. But yeah, Point Break is the shit. Watch it if you haven't. It's pretty cheese. It is kind of a cheese fest. I mean, you're getting Patrick Swayze and like young Keanu Reeves, but like it's amazing. Point Break is great. So yeah, check it out. It's pretty low on Rotten Tomatoes. I mean, 69% fitting, and 79% audience score though. So audience likes it a lot. I mean, I guess critics not as much, but critics can be wrong. I mean, we've seen that. So anyway, so final film on my top 100. Well, not on the entire top 100, but today, number 71, Evgeny Malkin. It's number 71. Monsters Inc. We have Monsters Inc. I think this is the first Pixar film on here. There's spoiler alert, there will be more, but Monsters Inc. I think it's obviously one of my favorites. Other than The Incredibles and the Toy Story franchise, I would probably this one's the next one up for sure. I love Monsters Inc. Monsters Inc. is really great and also very touching film. And I think whatever. Monsters Inc. is great. I don't need to really say anything too much about Monsters Inc. that hasn't already been said. I mean, every Pixar movie doesn't need any, selling for anyone to watch it, especially Monsters Inc. because I think it's one of the best. So, yeah. I forgot to say, does Swiss Army Man, Point Break, and Monsters Inc. all have a chance to rise and fall? I think all three of these films have more chance to rise in my list than fall, because I do love these three films a lot, and I think they all kind of just do something for me that I think maybe The Departed and The Departed and The Avengers also do something to me. So all these films are great. So we'll see over time. I don't know. We'll see. I'm sure after a year, I'll probably revisit this list again. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah. I did like an actual recent change early ahead, actually, like coming up a little bit in a couple more episodes. We'll get down to where I switch some movies up a little bit. It was just like a small change, but it changes. Like I said, my top 100 changes over time, and sometimes opinions change. It happens, but that's my top 100 for this the next 5 of my top 100. That's 75 through 71. So yeah, and with that's pretty much the episode, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Where are we on time? Around 47 minutes. Okay, we're good. But yeah, I hope you guys, if you are doing okay, like I said, if you are new to Nerd Out Sanctuary, I like to give a sort of a message at the end of every one of my normal episodes, and that message is that it's okay to just not be okay. I talked about afterlife and like Swiss Army Man in my top 100. That it kind of delves in the theme of like it's okay to not be okay, and hopefully in that tomorrow is going to be better than today is. If today is the worst day of your life, it can only go up from here, guys. But maybe it might not as well, but life's not fair, and life can be really shitty sometimes, but it doesn't mean it's always going to be unfair and always going to be shitty. So, try to use those negative things that happen in your life and turn them into more positive things, and, growth moments, like grow as a person, be better. Because that's what ultimately they're kind of there for, is to make you a better person. I'm not religious or anything, so I'm not like, oh, there's always a reason. I'm not that guy to be like, oh, there's a reason that this bad things are happening to you. No, but if you use them right, they will be, you will develop into a better person, and, a person I believe that you're, supposed to be, I guess. But, I don't know any answers. I'm just telling you to just, it's okay, basically. I just want to be that guy to be like, it's okay, and, check my episodes out. I hope, you enjoy them, and, leave a comment below. I'd really appreciate it. I'll respond to you. I will. If you don't think so, you thought fucking wrong, because I will. So yeah, and if you want to have a discussion, especially with my top 100, go ahead. I would love to hear your opinions. Also, at the end here, I'm just going to say it right now. If you're just checking me out on YouTube, know that this is just a video podcast. So I'm on podcasting platforms such as Spotify, iTunes, and Google Play, the three major ones. And if you're just listening on those three platforms, if you're just discovering me on those, know that this is also a YouTube channel. So it's similar name, Nerd Out Sanctuary on YouTube and on those three audio podcast platforms. So yeah, check me out, give me a subscribe, leave me a review, or leave me a comment. I would appreciate all the support, guys. And with that, I'll see you guys on the next episode. And stay safe out there. Bye.